Man, I love Dark Souls 1. I really want to play the sequel now. Wait a second. Is this game bad? Hello everyone and welcome to another totally not frustrated video about Dark Souls. As you might have noticed, people have collectively decided that Dark Souls 2 is the worst game in the trilogy. Now we gotta ask ourselves, is this game really that bad? Or is the internet just overreacting like they tend to do? Today in this video we are here to figure that out, so let's hop right in. First thing people complain about, areas. Dark Souls 1 had the most thought out, interconnected map a human brain can ever think of. The shortcut from Bell Gargoyles to the hub area. The Blighttown skip, the way Valley of Drakes connect to 3 different areas. It was all so fucking cool. Now how does the sequel improve on that? It's kinda... well, it certainly is a map. It's not as connected as Dark Souls 1 is, but how do the areas themselves hold up? Well, if you think a castle surrounded by lava is cool, then you're definitely right. It's just that it makes no sense that that lava pit is on top of a fucking windmill. Yes, not only the way all the areas branch off is weird in this game, just the overall areas themselves don't feel like they should be there. It feels like they made an area, thought it was cool, and were just like, wait, we gotta make it make sense now. Let's put that on the to-do list. And then they never looked at it ever again. Okay, but how do the areas themselves hold up? Yeah, to be honest, while trying to look for areas to show in this video, not a lot of them really came to mind immediately. That is mostly due to how unmemorable these are. The areas themselves are often just flat out dark, uninteresting, or look the same as the one before that. They're all just not great to look at. With of course a few exceptions. Majula, the hub area for this game, is the literal best hub area in any Souls game ever made. This is what I want to come back to after dying 25 times to the same boss. I just want to sit there and watch the waves with the calming song on the background, next to our lovely leveling up lady, who could definitely use a few less lines. Wait, did she just mention bears?
Listen, I will fuck you up!
Another beautiful area in the game is the Shrine of Amana. When you get there, you walk down these stairs while hearing a beautiful yet creepy voice sing. It is a creepy area surrounded by water with cool glowing plants. Because of all this would definitely be my favorite area in the game. If it just wasn't for the fucking enemies. There are so many magic shooting enemies in this terrain, while a lot of the water here has depths. Not only are the projectiles on screen way too scary in this area if you just straight up run through it, there are also these fuckers hiding in the water, ready to jump at you at any moment. Okay, so that problem only occurs in this shrine, right? Wrong. So this is where Dark Souls 2 problems truly shine. The enemies. From the very beginning area to the very end of the game, everything is just packed with them. You can take them out one by one most of the time, but fuck man. This is truly a problem in this game. And okay, in most Souls games you can run past all the enemies to the boss door, so you might be wondering why can't you do that here? It's because they can attack you when you enter the fuck gate to the boss. Which brings us to the last point. The bosses. Are they also bad in this game? Well, there are certainly bosses, that's for sure. I personally think this game has the weakest bosses. Not only are the designs forgettable, a lot of bosses are just also reskins of Dark Souls 1 bosses. And like, yeah, the Ornstein and Smough fight was a difficult one, and I get why you'd want to reuse that fight in the hopes of creating another memorable moment, or just straight up awaken PTSD. But it doesn't really work if half the duo is missing and the fight itself is just kinda boring. And reskins can make for a memorable moment, but more in a sense like, yeah, this one definitely reminds me of the Spider Lady. I don't have an art book this time though. But that ain't stopping me! When we actually get to the original bosses though, well, let's say that the pile of literal rotting corpses doesn't have the most interesting moveset to dodge. The developers' love for shoving a bunch of enemies in one room definitely also translated to the bosses, because they designed a boss, not once, not twice, but 3 different times, with this concept in mind. I mean, who doesn't like cleaning up a bunch of rats, you know? Am I right, guys? So, with all of that in mind, I can now confidently say that Dark Souls 2 is indeed a bad game.
Hold it!
What? Who are you?
That doesn't matter. What matters is that you call Dark Souls 2 bad while not even looking at all the great things that this game does. What do you have to say for yourself?
It has good parts?
Ugh. Yes, like with the areas. You mentioned that most of the areas don't look interesting or are just too dark in general. But the fact that you forget that this series is literally called Dark Souls, that's the vibe of the game.
I mean, fair, but a dark vibe doesn't excuse boring areas. Take for example Blighttown. There was an area in Dark Souls 1 with a very dark color scheme, yet the design around it is distinctly memorable.
So let me get this straight. Do you prefer Blighttown over some areas looking similar to each other?
Yes, because I remember that area particularly well. I had wiki pages open while writing this script to even see what areas in Dark Souls 2 there were again, while I can clearly remember almost every single area from Dark Souls 1. And again, the way the areas are connected doesn't make any fucking sense in this game.
Honestly, I don't really think the map layout's that weird. Sure, it has some weird design choices. I really can't get behind the idea of putting a lava pit on top of a windmill. But then again, all the branching paths in this game are like their own little linear levels. Take for example this part. Going from Aldia's Keep, finding your way through all of that just to make your way to Dragon's Area, to then navigate through that to end up in the beautiful scenery of the Dragon Shrine. Those areas are way more interconnected than you make it out to be.
Even if they are still completely overrun by enemies, which makes traversing them a pain.
I mean, sure, at the start it's rough, I agree with you there. But while it's punishing, I also feel like this game rewards you the most. You get a feel of how to properly distance yourself from the enemies and take advantage of them completely.
Okay, but what about the run up to the Smelter Demon?
Fuck the Smelter Demon, and fuck that part. Fighting enemies on a narrow bridge is stupid, but the other bosses are genuinely great in my opinion. Take for example the Looking Glass Knight. The fact that he literally spawns another player to fight you makes the stakes so much higher. It's like you're fighting two bosses at once. Or look at the Pursuer. The fact that he is a literal Terminator chasing you down the entire game feels so menacing to me.
Alright, fine. But still, why would I play this game again rather than just replay Dark Souls 1?
Well, two reasons mostly. First of all, hexes. The fact that FromSoftware decided to make a whole brand new magic system is awesome. It adds so much more versatility to mages that it makes it vastly superior than Dark Souls 1. And second of all, the bonfire aesthetics. The fact that I don't have to replay the entire game just to refight a single boss is amazing. And for some reason, they never implemented this again in any other games.
Okay, one thing I always wanted to have in Dark Souls was the ability to refight bosses. Okay, maybe this game is not as bad as the internet makes it out to be.
Excellent. I'm glad I convinced you. And now before I leave, I just want to mention to all the Dark Souls 2 haters, it's just a skill issue, and you need to get good and touch some grass.
So, is Dark Souls 2 a bad game? I know others like this one more than the other games, which is fine. People can have their opinions. And it did have some great points after all, like the ability to refight bosses using bonfire aesthetics. That was cool. Still, it is massively held back by its flaws and shortcomings. I mean, the game itself is still a great game, but if I compare it to the other games in the series, then I would say it certainly is a weaker one. Now with that out of the way, I'll wish you guys a great day, and don't forget to watch out for bears.